Good morning from Southwest Australia. I'm about to teach class, and what I've been sitting with, and also what has really been coming up for my students, is how to be with ourselves when we have pain, when we have sadness, when we have anger. I was considering, I've done some pretty diligent work on myself for a long time. And yet, there's that expectation when we first start this work thinking at some point the waves will stop. At some point there's going to be some sort of place where everything feels okay. And then we have to finally surrender to okay, the layers don't stop. One of my, if you've been with me before, or if you haven't, one of my big taglines is just how important pleasure and play and joy is. Because especially if we're digging in ourselves and going into dark spaces, what's the point? That our inherent essence is this joy and pleasure. So it's how do we meet ourselves when we feel disappointment? When we have pain that may be a reaction to something or just seems to kind of come up. I like to tell people that I'm a moody rainbow, meaning that, I just seem to experience lots of different feelings and sensations. We could say that some of it is just unprocessed stuff that we've had for decades, and we can also say that maybe some of the stuff we're carrying is our ancestors. Some of us is just personality types. I've got this little cat named Dharma who's fully grown this size, and he's just grumpy. That's just how he is. I don't know if that's a good parallel, but it's I know for myself, there's a part of me that's very playful and quirky and funny, but I feel a lot, So for those of us who have a more sensitive wiring, it's you're just gonna feel things more, and that's just how you are. And for other people, it's you may not have that same kind of feeling, and so certain things just don't affect you the same way. I do amateur palmistry, meaning I'll never do it for money, but it's fun. Sometimes I get great information when I do it. And one basic thing is when you look at the palm of someone's hand, you can actually see if there's a lot of lines there compared outside of the basic lines, but in terms of all the other space, some people have a lot of fine lines, and other people have nothing. And that shows me how much someone's system just kind of picks up information. For someone with not a lot of lines, I'm you probably can walk around in public and things don't affect you the same way. And there's never one that's better than the other. There's always going to be a pro and con to both. But, part of our practice is how do I accept my wiring? In the masculine approach, and I'm not knocking it, but because we're learning to bring in the feminine, the masculine approach is and how can I fix this? How can I make it better? Self-improvement is a neuroses. Can we actually be this is it? And here I am. And I'm not talking about being apathetic when there is some stuff we need to own and take responsibility for. I don't know when you're watching this, whether it's around the time that I'm doing this or years later. But this is the COVID time with the world really starting to own up to darkness that's always been there. So I'm not saying that we sit back. The feminine approach isn't passive. It's more about when we can take ownership and really listen and feel and see. And before we react, because a lot of times when we take action before fully, this takes patience to fully listen, to fully sit with, to fully feel and hear, to see this, to really be with it. That takes fucking guts. Excuse my language. So to really be able to do this takes patience to really then know, okay, what's my action now? And it also will hit us in a much deeper way if we actually use our senses to be with it. So going back to our own emotions, no matter how much work you do, like you're just going to have feelings. And, simple thing, I know it's so easy to be like, why do I feel this way? What can I do? How can I change this? Like, that's all the mental approach. It's like, where in my body do I feel these sensations? What is the texture like? Is there a color to it? Like, let it be art. I'm just going to show you. A friend just lent me a keyboard. And I have to admit, on my days when I'm feeling quite a bit, the one place where I feel the most relief is when I can sit down at a keyboard, or piano even better, and I can just be like, this is all that I'm feeling. And it's like suddenly there's sound, I see colors when I play, I can feel it. It's like everything has its place. And it's just like, I just give it time for it to have its place. And if we can do that with our own body, that in itself is a game changer. Because oftentimes, like, our way of considering things is like, if something comes up unexpected, which is like everything all the time, we'll think like there's something wrong and I made a mistake and I need to somehow revert it. And it's like, what if there's a greater divine timing? And I'm, again, not saying to just like give up action, but it's like there is a bigger flow. And most of the time as humans, we aren't operating on that flow. We're operating according to how I think it should go. And according to my very myopic, like tiny little mind. Like it's so freeing when you're actually like, oh, we're multidimensional. And that it's in an uncomfortable place to allow this more feminine part of us, because it isn't how we've been schooled in terms of intelligence. We can get a little scared of like, can I actually allow myself to sense things in a bigger way? So the final thing I want to say is that along with allowing yourself to have your feelings and to feel them in your body and to watch that part of you that wants to obsess in your head, no matter what story comes, the other piece is, can you be kind to yourself and hold yourself in that? Meaning, when you're feeling trembly, sad, disappointed, and you want to like reach out and fix it, whether you're going to go eat something or do something, make it go away, try to stuff it down, even reach out to a friend. Those days when you're like, I feel like crap, and I'm actually reaching out to people because that's healthy, and nobody's fucking around. Like, what am I going to do? And it's like, that's when I'm like, oh, right, I got to be a friend to me. Like, I got to hold myself the way I want to be held. And I haven't met anyone who's had stellar parents, meaning, parents are humans. They're bound to disappoint us. I'm not discrediting this, but at some point in your life, it's like, all right, I gotta start making sure that those things that weren't given to me, I'm going to make sure I get them for me. So can you hold yourself? Can you, especially on those days where you're like, I might have fucked up a little bit and there's a part of me that wants to die and I want to hide and I want to go like hurt myself in some way. And we hurt ourselves through how we talk to ourselves and our attitude, having harsh expectations, like not letting ourselves just have a break, right? And can you be like, I'm allowed to make mistakes, and that doesn't make me a bad person. I'm going to take responsibility, but that doesn't mean that my soul is doomed and I'm not allowed a place on this planet. So if we want to talk about grounding, and that's more than just like tree roots rising up into your body, like I'm talking about like, can you fully hold yourself, not just on good days, but on those days where you feel so anxious and uncomfortable? Can you start to be kind to yourself, even on those days where there's a part of you that's like, I'm not sure if I deserve kindness? Can you start to be your own best friend? Maitreya, friendliness. It's a Buddhist word, friendliness. Can you be a friend to yourself? And I think right now with what's happening on the planet, we all need to start learning how to truly be a friend to ourselves. There's so many things we can listen to and it can just garble us and rip us apart a little bit. And it's like, and lose our focus and center. And it's like, if we're really here, we got to take care of our planet. We got to take care of ourselves. We got to take care of one another. But if we don't even know how to love ourselves, how can we put that love anywhere else? And I know some of you are going to be like, I'm so good at loving everybody else. That's not my issue. Great. Until you finally can own some love for yourself, like self-compassion, that's going to bring your body here. Why did you come on this planet this time? Why are you here? And if love isn't part of your formula, you're missing something. I'm being a little bit of a stern mother right now, but I just want to tell you this. Like, love is the way, and I'm not talking about this in some like airy-fairy way. Fuck that. Like, I'm talking about being able to be like, yeah, as a human civilization, there's been a lot. We harm each other all the time, consciously and unconsciously. And right now there's a rewiring. And it has to start from within. Has to. The moment you can love yourself when you're neurotic and crazy and angry, suddenly you're not going to look at people with the same sort of superiority or inferiority or judgment. You're going to look at people and be like, wow, I know that pain. I know how hard it is to be on this planet with that pain. I've known how to meet myself in this pain. And as a result, I know how to meet you. There's magic when we can meet someone else with real love. Not fake love, not expectation love, not like I just read a book about love and now I'm going to practice something. Where it's like, I know how to meet my own pain. I know where this comes from. And as a result, I know how to meet you. I know where to put boundaries. I know the words. I know my presence. We cannot underestimate presence. Presence is a power. And I'm talking about what you've embodied. It's not your words. It's what is in your own presence, your field. You can't hide that. All the information is there. And if we can meet ourselves and one another with that quality of presence of like, yes, there's pain, and let's meet it together and by ourselves, that's when healing's going to happen. When we stop attacking one another and going into our defense. Because right now, all of us are like, I don't know how to handle it. I'm just going to go into defense. I'm going to make excuses. I'm going to fight. And I'm not just talking about physical. We do it mentally, emotionally, energetically. These defenses come up. It's like, how do we actually disarm ourselves as a planet? How do we actually come back into love? This is our work. So if your practice, because we're like, how do I serve? What do I do? We all have our own individual path. But if it does not include being able to love and hold yourself, you're going to miss a very important foundation. So I'm sending you a lot of love, and I'm going to go teach my class now. Bye.